Hello everyone!
Good morning. Liv and I are coming to you live today, an hour late, so thank you for your patience. We had a busy morning at the Capitol already. We've been testifying in committees, and we're actually live today from the Capitol Rotunda. We are participating in rangelands in the Rotunda today, and DNRC's Rangeland Resource Committee is hosting an event and luncheon in the Capitol. So we know there's a little bit of background noise. We will be watching the comments. If our audio is really hard to hear, please shoot us a comment and we will do something else. Potentially you might get a really up close look at our faces if we have to get that close to you. So we're going to take a liberty here and just show you what's going on this morning. So they're just setting up now, but we're looking around the Rotunda. And there's going to be a variety of people participating that are here to celebrate Montana's largest resource, which is our rangelands. So, beautiful morning in the Rotunda. The Rotunda is one of the most beautiful spots in the Capitol anyway. So it's a great place to be this morning. And we do have a few updates for you as well that Liv's going to lead off with.
So we did testify on one new bill this week. You testified on another one. I testified on one new bill this week. It's House Bill 31. This bill came out of the Interim Environmental Quality Council, and it seeks to expand the current voluntary fire preparedness assessment that is placed on western wildland owners' parcels across the entire state. So that fire assessment would go directly towards equipment, training, etc. It never goes to the fire suppression budget. And we oppose this bill on a couple different fronts. First, it never sees fire suppression account. Second, it places essentially a property tax on all landowners across the state. And they do it in the bill per parcel. So someone who has one 40-acre parcel could be paying less than someone who has four 10-acre parcels. So while their intent was to make the fire preparedness assessment more equitable, it fails to do that. And even if they were to do it by acreage, a lot of our eastern ranches would be disproportionately affected, paying more into this fire preparedness fund. It also takes $1.5 million from this money that's collected and puts it into a helicopter replacement fund, and it excludes cities and towns. So we truly see this as a property tax that's assessed essentially on rural Montana landowners. So we oppose that bill along with a long list of opponents. There was not one proponent on the bill, so it was a hard lift for Representative Curry coming out of EQC.
And to follow that up, we had one other new piece of legislation this week that we testified on. And again, please, I see we've got lots of folks joining, so somebody would just give us a thumbs up if our audio and our sound level is good, because we are in the Rotunda. It's a very echoey place. There's a lot of folks around us talking and having conversations, so we want to make sure the quality is good. You guys can hear us, otherwise we'll get closer to you. So give us a thumbs up if the audio is good, please. So the other piece of legislation that was new to us this week was carried by Representative Tyson Runningwolf. It was House Bill 478, and this bill proposed some changes to animal health permitting requirements when it comes to transferring wild bison. The bill essentially had three provisions in it. One of the initial provisions that was not something that was outwardly concerning to our organization simply changed how the meat of bison is distributed if the Department of Livestock has to take a wild buffalo or bison for a variety of reasons, whether that be they're hazed outside, or they're outside of the park and hazing efforts have not worked, a test and slaughter protocol program, and that meat would be donated to either a tribal entity or a charity. So that was the first provision. The second two provisions are what were very concerning for us as farmers and ranchers in an agricultural industry in the state of Montana, because the two second provisions offered exemptions to animal health certificate requirements for wild bison if they were to be taken from Yellowstone National Park and given to a tribal entity. Specifically, the provisions would not require the state veterinarian to certify those bison brucellosis free before they left Yellowstone National Park. Now, the qualification on that provision was that would apply only if bison were being transported to a tribal entity for a quarantine process. There are currently no tribal entities in the state of Montana operating a quarantine process or facility. There are only 2 quarantine facilities, and those are both within the designated surveillance area outside of Yellowstone National Park. And as a little bit of background, I think everyone's pretty well familiar with brucellosis, but the reason that brucellosis is such a huge issue for the livestock industry is because it poses serious public health, public health, animal health, and frankly, international trade concerns. In 1954 and before 1954, brucellosis was a widespread chronic disease among our nation's livestock industry, and it actually took an act of Congress to fund an eradication program. About 1954, there was roughly 124,000 herds of livestock that were chronically infected with brucellosis around the nation. And brucellosis affects ruminant animals like bison, elk, cattle, and it also actually infects swine too. In humans, it is known as undulant fever. So there's a variety of risks associated with this disease. And starting in 1954, Congress actually federally enacted a federal eradication program and put money towards that, and it was very successful. By 1992, the number of infected herds in the United States had dropped to just under 700, and today that number is in the single digits. Of course, with the largest disease reservoir existing here in the greater Yellowstone area. In the designated surveillance area was specifically established under the Schweitzer administration to allow Montana to preserve our brucellosis-free status. And that's important for the import and export of cattle from Montana because other state veterinarians, under their own due diligence and duty as a state vet, were implementing import restrictions on cattle from Montana as a result of our infection. That's why the designated surveillance area was originally established, and it's been working successfully well since then. I will say, largely due to the producers who are within the designated surveillance area and bear the costs, both financial and otherwise, of following testing and surveillance requirements for their own livestock herds. House Bill 478 essentially flies in the face of that. If we're allowed to transfer diseased bison outside of the designated surveillance area in Montana, it compromises our state's brucellosis-free status, and we have no guarantee that other state veterinarians will not import or implement import restrictions on Montana cattle. Transferring them anywhere else in the state almost certainly will result in the new creation of another designated surveillance area and likely additional cost to the state of Montana. Also slightly concerning about that piece of legislation was that it provided an exemption if a tribal entity is sourcing bison outside of the state of Montana from another national park. They're not required to have an animal health permit. Now, we know that by and large, brucellosis is an isolated disease in the greater Yellowstone bison population. However, that animal health permit does not only certify them brucellosis-free. It checks for a variety of other diseases that those wildlife could be carrying and pose a threat not only to livestock, but to Montana's wildlife populations as well. So we feel as though it's very important that we preserve those two provisions of state law, and we worked yesterday in the House Agriculture Committee along with a variety of other opponents to share our concerns, and hopefully we'll keep that bill in the House Agriculture Committee. So I see a bunch of people joining us. Glad to have you all this morning. Any questions so far? Liv talked about the fire assessment fees. If anybody had any questions about those, and I just wrapped up a discussion on some bison transfer legislation. So if you've got any questions, please give us a shout out, and we'll be checking the comments. And Liv and I both spent the morning in an appropriations committee of some kind.
Yes. I was in Senate Finance and Claims to testify on House Bill 24, introduced by Representative Redfield. This is its fourth hearing that it's had because it had to go through both House and Senate Ag and then House Appropriations. And this bill essentially gives all irrigators the opportunity to get that $50 deduction because of their energy costs, labor costs, etc., that they have to turn in receipts to the Department of Revenue every year to get that deduction. So it essentially gives all irrigators that $50 max deduction. We supported this. We very much see it as a simplification for both irrigators, for the Department of Revenue, and in our tax code. So good bill moving along in the process, and I think that's its last hearing, which is exciting.
I spent some time this morning in the House Appropriations Committee testifying on two House bills, House Bill 341 and 342, which are essentially cooperative or partner bills, if you will. Both are seeking to establish special revenue accounts and funding for the groundwater investigation program and secondarily the surface water assessment program through the Bureau of Mines and Geology. And these are two programs that are really critically important to Montana and specifically to agriculture for a couple of reasons. First of all, as a headwaters state, it's really important for Montana to be making very wise and sound water management decisions about how we're handling water policy in the state. Secondly, as agriculture water users, senior water rights holders, and irrigators, water is a very critical resource to us in this state. And so having the data collection through both the surface water assessment program and the groundwater investigation program, lovingly referred to as SWAMP and GWIP, that provides the data that's really critically important to getting a full picture about Montana's water availability and the hydrology that influences the availability of that water. So these are really beneficial programs in that they provide unbiased research on our two sources of water. And so we were there to support a $250,000 appropriation for the SWAMP program and an additional $250,000 appropriation for the GWIP program. GWIP is already established and they are able to take on a limited number of projects every year. SWAMP, the Surface Water Assessment Program, is new. They actually do not have any funding to implement any of their projects and programs that would monitor surface water, and so this would be a new appropriation allowing us to establish a funding source and to give them the opportunity to go forth and execute some of that research and data collection. So both good bills. We're hoping to see them through the process. They had positive hearings in the House Natural Resources Committee and had positive hearings today in House Appropriations. So we are going to interrupt this live broadcast momentarily to bring you some very special guests. Today in Helena, Ricky Swant is touring around with the Egg in Color contest winners in Helena. They had just finished up a meeting at the governor's office, and we're going to have a couple of the contest winners join us for just a couple moments to tell us a little bit about their experience so far and the drawing that got them a trip to Helena. So who wants to go first?
I'll jump in.
Yes, sounds good.
Hey everybody, so we are here with the My Ag Literacy program. A lot of you have heard about it. It's a new ag literacy program that Montana Farm Bureau is working on. And so the Ag in Color contest was a contest for students in grades kindergarten through 6 across Montana. And they participated, a lot of you might know, it's what was formerly maybe the bumper sticker contest. And so they had to create a drawing that had something to do with agriculture and have a Montana Ag slogan that goes with it. And so the rest of our group is actually touring upstairs, but I pulled 2 of our winning artists with me to come down here to talk to you guys. And I'm hoping that they'll introduce themselves. And so I guess, can you guys step in here or one at a time? So can you say your name and where you're from?
I'm Anna and I'm from Miles City.
And what category did you do your drawings with?
I think it was agricultural careers.
Ag careers in Montana. And can you describe your drawing a little bit?
I just drew basically 2 scientists standing around a table of chemicals, and and I said, Montana has the finest agriculture sciences.
Yeah, so her drawing was about how agriculture careers are more than just farming and ranching, and it's about the science side of agriculture. So great job. We are going to go, after this, we're going to go have lunch with the First Lady at a little luncheon for all the drawing artists and their families. So good job, Anna. I'm going to grab Camry and you guys can swap.
Thank you.
So tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Cameron Pearson and I'm from Fairfield.
And what was you guys are the same age, so you had the same category. Tell us a little bit about your drawing.
I drew superheroes doing their different careers. I had a vet and I had a farmer and I had an engineer, and they were all dressed up as superheroes.
Cool. So we have all of the drawings up on our Facebook page and on our website, and so you can look through those and see all the winning drawings. And we created some magnets as take-home prizes for these guys so that they can show off and give those away. But right now we're going to go back up and get back with our tour. Thank you guys for letting us jump into your Facebook Live. It's always great to be in Helena. So we will see you later.
Thank you.
Let's take this way.
Okay, everyone, let's give a Facebook round of applause. Thank you guys so much. Glad to have you. So glad to have them join us. They're a lot more exciting than what we get to talk about. So we'll wrap up with a few more updates and then answer any questions you have.
So if anyone has been staying tuned to the few hemp bills that we have this session, just to recap on that, the 2018 Farm Bill removed hemp from the list of controlled substances. So here in Montana, we were one of few states that had a pilot program up until that point, and last year we were the largest hemp growers in the nation with 22,000 acres grown into food. So with that change in the 2018 Farm Bill, states can start growing their hemp without that pilot program. So the Department of Agriculture responded by introducing two bills, one of which creates just a hemp certified program so that they can market their hemp as certified Montana hemp. The second one removes all of the requirements that are no longer needed, like fingerprinting, because you technically shouldn't have to be fingerprinted for any regular agricultural commodity. So those were heard in House A earlier this week, and they're moving along in the process as well.
All right, so if anybody has any questions or comments for us, we appreciate hearing them and are glad to help try to answer them. I didn't see any pop up. I'll take a quick look back through here and make sure we didn't miss anything this morning. Thanks everybody for joining us. Looks like we're good. Oh, sorry, got a little bit of my finger there. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to go ahead and sign off so we can finish prepping for Rangeland in the Rotunda luncheon today. And then we're going to divide and conquer and go to the luncheon with the Egg and Color group. And, we got a pause.
There was an economic development bill regarding hemp processing facilities, and I think it was a tax exemption for them. And that was heard in House taxation yesterday as well. It didn't have policy specific to taxing of facilities, so we didn't weigh in on that, but we can certainly look into it and see where it's at in the process and get back to you.
Great question. Thanks for the question. All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and sign off today. As always, if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and throw your comments in there. We are happy to get back to you. And we're looking forward to likely another busy week next week. So we will see you all next Friday. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye.